Okay, anytime you're ready.
Urbanization, culture, and lifestyles. So, what exactly is urbanization? The Google definition of urbanization is the process of making an area more urban. And the way to define urban is still foggy as explored in the urbanization transformation of the developing world. In the article, they use Beijing as an example of why it's so hard to determine urban. In the city of Beijing, the population was recorded to be 11.5 million, but could be as low as 8.5 million depending on how the boundaries are drawn. The Chinese population was the main city and the surrounding city districts, which consisted of more rural residents than urban residents. These places were functionally connected to the city, but were still proven rural. And population isn't the only factor that goes into classifying an urban place. Multiple social, economic, political, and administrative judgments must be made as well. So what is the problem with urbanization? The problem with urbanization is it causes a loss of culture, which can change people's lifestyle for the worse. So how has urbanization actually affected culture? Della Deshungus, a lecturer in the School of Culture Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, says urbanization affects people's culture as they become more dominated by Western culture. Think about it. When walking around an urban place, what do you see? You are bombarded with ads for the newest phone, the fashion and clothing brands that are in, and basically the way of life for those in an urban area. Urbanization expands this Western influence to more areas. People feel more pressured to conform to the Western culture as they don't want to be seen as different. Della also talks about how once people are exposed to the Western culture, they are more likely to spread these ideas and use them in their own culture. People can be too absorbed in this urban culture and forget about the importance of their own heritage. Secondly, urbanization can distract a person from their own culture. Once a place becomes more urban, the values in that area change, and this becomes problematic for cultures. In history professor's article, in history professor Jeffrey Newell's article, Urban Culture and the Problems of Urban Development, he talks about the traditional setup of an Igbo house and states whether the merits of the traditional settlements, some of their features are not readily transferable to the modern urban. The Igbo houses usually contain something connected to their tradition and culture, which proved to be problematic with the urbanization of Nigeria. The later generations of the Igbo culture will not be able to fully connect to their ancestors' culture. So, how does urbanization affect our lifestyles? With the introduction of these technologies, people start becoming more disconnected around them. Alex Lickerman, a physician who graduated from the University of Chicago, talks about the problems of technology and etiquette. On text, email, or internet, one can seem that they lack emotion, and this is because of the anonymity of the internet as exploiting Kessler's social media and the movement of ideas. People are able to hide their emotions behind the screen, allowing them to bottle up. Technology limits our real-world interactions as well. The average time spent on technology for an American adult is around 4 hours. These 4 hours are taken away from interacting with our friends, family, or even just the people around us. We lose time in our face-to-face conversation, and this causes the quality of conversation to go down. When talking face-to-face, we have a connection, and this just isn't there with technology. Technology is destroying the meaningfulness of interaction, and this comes with the introduction of technology comes from urbanization. Technology isn't the only driving factor of these problems with social interactions. It's also just because of the urbanized area themselves. Since there are more people around, we are less likely to have meaningful relationships with those around us. I've seen this graph taken from the Pew Research Center. Adults in urban areas are less likely to know their neighbors. Compare their 24% to the rural's 40%. Rural areas are more connected mainly because they share the same views and ethnicity compared to the severely diverse urban sectors. Urbanization causes there to be more cultures and mixing but less meaningful relationships. Lastly is a person's health. The introduction of cheap food chains such as McDonald's can cause people to become more obese. In urban areas, there tend to be people of lower socioeconomic status, which causes them to turn to cheap, unhealthy choices. Not only this, but pollution caused by factories and cars have an effect on a person's health. Take Baoding, China, for example, where the city is covered in smog. Imagine bringing this in on a daily basis. Even if a person were to take precautions, it would still affect the way that they live. So how can we solve these problems of urbanization? One way to solve the loss of culture is putting up buildings that are dedicated to a culture that was prevalent before urbanization. During the process of urbanization, people can erect buildings that have traditional artifacts or writings about their culture. This could help people not forget where they came from when the Western ideas bombard them. It could also serve as an educational sector for people who want to learn about the cultures around them. This would allow cultures to spread and flourish. There are problems with this solution. One is the cost. A building costs around $300,000 to be built, and depending on the amount of cultures in the area, this could be a costly project. This money could be spent on the improvement of infrastructure and may not be viewed as important as other people. And other minority groups may see that it's not fair that other cultures get more recognition than they do, and then this will cause problems to arise. Another potential solution to solve not only the cultural problem but the social problem is to do community meet and greets. These community meet and greets would consist of people from the same community, whether it be apartment building or neighborhood, just getting together and hanging out. This is a great way to spread culture as people can share about their heritage. This would also allow people to have more inhuman interactions, causing people to be less antisocial. But there is a major problem with this, and this is the attendance of this sort of event. People may not go to this event as they deem it worthless due to how their perception has changed due to technology. People may think it's a waste of time, and time is money to some people, or some people just be too lazy to go. This would take away from the value of the meet and greet, as there won't be a diverse crew to hold up the event. So what is the solution? The solution is just being mindful and respectful of the cultures around us. When a place becomes more urban, more popular cultures tend to take over. Trends and norms are set into society, and this allows for cultures to be lost. If people are just mindful and respectful of the cultures around them, we won't be losing our culture. People could try to protect these cultures or build communities around them, such as Chinatowns. This could solve the problem of losing culture and allows people to connect to their culture. Although this is an overall better solution, there are still problems with it. One problem is that people won't be accepting of other cultures. The world is filled with all kinds of people, and there are people who are very close-minded. They may have stereotypes of the people and their culture, and this would cause problems for them accepting it. They may try to force their culture onto them, or they may not accept the new one. Secondly is the greed of human. People could try to make money off of this. They could misrepresent a culture, and they could profit off of that. And this would cause problems to arise between the cultures in the urban area and the traditional cultures. Lastly is that when there are cultures here, they may adopt things from the pop culture, and this may not be beneficial for their own good, as they will be changing their traditions to fit the pop culture. Thank you.
Okay, first question. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process, and did your research go in a different direction than you originally planned or hypothesized?
So my research question evolved from just being about the lifestyles of a person to how the culture and the lifestyle and how urbanization affected that, as I evolved it because I found that there was only so many limited resources about the lifestyle changing due to urbanization, so I needed to find a broader topic that I can integrate more evidence into. And
your second question, what additional questions emerged from your research, and why are these questions important?
An additional question that emerged from my research is how do the people that are doing the urbanization, so the people that are building up the new urban areas, how are they affected by the cultures around them, and what do they see and how do they perceive the other cultures? And this is important, as if we know how they feel and how they see the other cultures, we may be able to come to a compromise to how we can coexist with the other cultures and the urban culture.
Thank you.